Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the video game Stray. Now, on the surface, yeah, it's a game about a cat exploring a city full of robots. But if you look just a little deeper, you find this incredibly powerful reflection of our own post-pandemic world. We're going to unpack exactly why this game hits so hard for so many people. This line right here, it's about the game's robotic inhabitants, the companions, and it just gets to the absolute heart of Stray. It perfectly captures the world's whole vibe, this kind of melancholic beauty, a place that feels warm and social, but also deeply, historically tired. So here's our game plan. We're going to explore this journey thematically. We'll start with the city's unique social fabric, then we'll get into that deep longing for escape. After that, we'll tackle the nature of danger in this world, how it mirrors our own digital lives, and finally, we'll talk about the brilliant design choice that makes the whole thing just work so well.
Okay, first up, the companions. You have to understand, these robots are basically the inheritors of a dead civilization. They've been left to piece together a society from all the fragments that humans left behind. And that right there is the core social feeling of the entire game.
There's actually a name for this feeling: second-hand sociality. It's this idea that all the routines of life, running a bar, having a job, even gossiping, they just keep going long after the humans who invented them are gone. Everything feels like an echo, like it's carrying the weight of an afterlife.
And you see it everywhere. The robots preserve the complete shell of city life. They run shops, they wear clothes, they share their worries. It makes their world feel both diminished, like just a residue of what came before, but also incredibly stubbornly alive.
And this is where it really clicks with our own recent past. The slums, which is the first real hub you explore, just perfectly captures that feeling of social life pushing on, even under these damaged and closed conditions. It's a culture that was literally born from adapting to being stuck inside for a very, very long time, a feeling I think many of us know all too well.
But living inside a sealed box inevitably creates this powerful counterforce, that deep, deep desire for escape. And in Stray, that hope isn't just a vague feeling. It's embodied by a really important group of characters called the Outsiders.
This is why the Outsiders, like the robot Momo you meet, are so important to the story. They are the ones who preserve the act of refusal. While almost everyone else has just adapted, the Outsiders are actively trying to turn that simple desire for escape into a real, tangible project, a plan, using technology to reach a world beyond their own.
So the word outside is doing a ton of heavy lifting here. It's not just a location, it's a concept. It means open air, sunlight, a horizon that isn't a concrete wall. It basically condenses all of that shared pandemic-era longing we all had for open, unconstrained space into one powerful, motivating goal.
Of course, the path to the outside is anything but simple. The journey forces you, and the cat, to confront the city's deepest, darkest problems, and the very nature of what's dangerous starts to shift in a really dramatic way. This is such a cool shift. In the slums, danger is an intruder. These little creatures, the Zerks, invade the social spaces. But when you get to the sewers, well, the contamination becomes the atmosphere itself. Danger is the architecture. The whole world feels infected. And that completely transforms how you play the game. Suddenly, your journey becomes a kind of pandemic geography. Think about it. You're not just moving from point A to point B anymore. You're constantly assessing routes, surfaces, risk. Your navigation is all about managing your exposure. And the solution isn't just about fighting harder. The inventor, Doc, he introduces this new idea, ultraviolet light. And this isn't just a bigger gun. It's a counterforce that literally changes the environment, making it hostile to the infection. It's a systemic solution, not just a personal one.
So after all that darkness, we finally arrive in Midtown. This is the city at its brightest, its most controlled, and it offers this fascinating and maybe a little unsettling mirror to our own digitally compressed social lives. This is where that comparison to NPC behavior, non-playable characters, gets really deep. It's not just the simple joke that, haha, people became robotic. The much stronger argument is that real-life historical events, like the pandemic, actually pushed our social interactions toward the same kind of repeatable, predictable loops that games have always used for their background characters.
I mean, the parallel is pretty striking, isn't it? The way we connected through these constrained online channels, a face on a screen, a recurring meme, it directly mirrors the managed world of Midtown, where every single robot has a very defined, very recognizable role to play.
The real tension in Midtown comes from this exact contradiction. It looks like a normal, bustling city, but it's all operating under constant surveillance and control. It's the perfect model for how a public life with a really narrow horizon can still seem vibrant and full of activity on the surface.
And all of this brings us to the game's core design lesson, and I think its most profound insight into our own experience. So why does this world feel so rich?
It's a really fascinating question, right? Why does this constrained world, with its pretty simple characters and very focused gameplay, often feel so much more emotionally dense than these huge, sprawling, simulate-everything open-world games?
Well, the answer is something called selective reduction. By not trying to simulate everything, the game forces our attention onto what remains. And the result? Every single surviving element gains this enormous weight and significance.
And that's why the smallest moments in Stray can feel so incredibly powerful. A simple stretch from a cat becomes this huge act of reassurance. A robot's little habit becomes a signal of precious persistence. Because the wider world has been stripped away, the emotional pressure on everything that's left is just raised immensely.
And this connects everything right back to our recent past. It perfectly explains how a short video from a friend, or a voice through headphones, or a familiar face on a video call could carry so much emotional charge during the pandemic. The full scene had contracted, so every little signal mattered so much more.
Ultimately, Stray leaves us with this final, really resonant question. It suggests that when a world is stripped down to its bare essentials, what you find isn't emptiness. Instead, you find a new kind of intensity, a different kind of meaning, and maybe a profound appreciation for the true value of what remains.